Hello everyone and welcome back to Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. Today's episode is going to be a very special episode. Not because it is just the first episode in 2025, so welcome to the new year. No, it's just because we are going to open the zoo to the public. This means at the end of today's episode we are going to have our very first animal habitat in Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. Can you believe that? I think we are in, I just don't know it right now, I think we are in episode number 6 today. So we've done a lot of work on the outside of the zoo. We've built this beautiful little playground for our little guests here in the zoo. We've built a restaurant for all our guests. We built the staff area, the entrance building, and a little zoo shop outside of the zoo, the zoo friends of Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. And there is nothing more to do right now in preparation to open the zoo. Well, we could have built a whole city around the zoo and made it look even more realistic. But let's be honest, we want to see our first animals, don't we? So guys, you told me in the comment section already which animal you want to see in Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. So I was a little bit torn between the greater flamingos and the binturong. I thought the greater flamingo would be such a great idea to open up a zoo, because this is an animal that you usually see, if not at the very first animal at the zoo, but then as one of the first animals. And for me, especially for me, it is very exciting. Always you are going into a zoo. It's not just because flamingos are perfect entrance animal. They are a perfect entrance animal because they can lure your guests into the zoo. Why? Because they are so loud and you can hear them from afar. So if you walk by or drive by the zoo and you hear the flamingos, the chances are very high that you think, oh, well, long time not been to the zoo, time to go in there. So, therefore, loud animals are also a very good choice for starter animals in the zoo. But we are not going to do that. As you've seen on the thumbnail already, our starter animal is going to be the binturong. And creating this video was a little bit difficult because I had so much stuff for this video. I recorded 6 hours. So I was building definitely more than 6 hours on what you are going to see today. So therefore, so you have a slight insight in how long it takes for me to record those videos. So it's been like 10 hours of building, several days that I did nothing else than taking care of Greenpine Zoo and building here this entrance gate to the actual zoo that you can see right now, and yeah, the habitat for the binturong. And I also have to tell you, building the habitat was so much fun. Adjusting it at the end, that the animals can actually use everything that I built for them, was a real pain in the ass. Yeah, it was. Because, once again, for the hitbox of the animals. It's always a little bit of a problem, especially with the animals that we got very early in the lifetime circle of Planet Zoo. Because some of them do have ridiculous hitboxes. Some of them, I'm especially thinking of the bears, especially the grizzly bear, do have strange habits. So grizzly bears, for example, are not able to walk over little rocks. And the binturong is pretty close to that. Because you're going to see it later, I wanted to have a very, very tropical habitat with lots of plants in there, and In real life, it would not be a problem at all for the binturong to roam around in the habitat, but yeah, we are not in real life, we are in Planet Zoo, and therefore the binturong had so much problems. But we're going into that later on. Let's just have a look what I've done here. So, I wanted to have a separate entrance gate for the zoo. So you're going to the entrance building, you're going into this little plaza, not really a plaza. You're going into this area here where you have the restaurant, you have the playground and stuff like that, restrooms, picnic area and stuff like that. So you can have breakfast before you enter the zoo, or after you are leaving the zoo you can go there and have dinner, lunch, go to the playground with your children or whatsoever. You also could use this area when the zoo is closed. So that's what I wanted to say. And you can also buy your tickets for the zoo when you are going through the entrance building. And entering the zoo, you do it right here, what I'm building right now. This little gate, to the main path of the zoo. So the plan right now is that you are going to enter the zoo right here, and you can exit it on the side where we do have the Urban Plate. I think it was called the Urban Plate, our buffet restaurant, or at the side where we do have the animal hospital. So that is the plan. So main entrance gate, and on the left and on the right we do have the exit gates. Yeah, and therefore I wanted to create a very simple but also very zoo-ish and very a little bit kitschy. Is that the correct word in English? A little bit of a cartoony, childish entrance gate. And I really do like the style of that. I looked that up on the internet, I googled as well, as I do most of the times to get some inspiration, and I don't know which zoo it was, but I saw it for some kind of a zoo and thought it was quite cute, and wanted to have something like that in here, and I think it works pretty well. So, that you can't get that much of a glimpse into the zoo when you are entering the space right before the zoo, I wanted to have lots of plants in there, trying to create a little jungle behind that, and yeah, really do like that in the end. You can see it in a few minutes after we are going to jump out of this segment of the video. That when you're entering the place before the zoo, you can't actually see anything, which is pretty great because we will have some of the backstage areas at that part, and yeah, that makes total sense. So you don't have an animal habitat right behind the fence, so yeah, you can actually have the backstage area, so stables for the animals or indoor areas where our visitors will not be able to go to. Here you can see what I meant with the jungle in the background. It looks so cool. I really love the view of that. And I'm pretty happy that it doesn't make too much shade towards the inside of our picnic area or the playground, so that it is not that dark. And therefore it is also pretty cool that we do have the backstage areas right there where we do have all the shadows, because it doesn't matter if the backstage areas are in the shadow. We want our animal habitats to be bright so that you can actually see the animals, so it's no problem if the backstage areas are a little bit darker. So, after I built the main entrance to our zoo, I was going with the fencing for our habitat, and therefore for inspiration I used the binturong habitat from Tampa Zoo. where I've actually been to. I think it was about 2 years ago now. Yeah, it's been 2 years ago now. I really do like that zoo. If you want to have a look at the zoo, you can find a video on my playlist Bake & Play on Tour. So there are many videos of zoos that we visited over time. So where we did yeah, a small zoo tour where you can see some of the parts of the zoo. Definitely not everything, because that would be too much, but many parts of the zoo. Yeah, so if you want to have a look at it, you can check that out on my channel. So I really did like the fencing in Tampa Zoo because it was quite different than anything that I've seen so far. They were using those horizontal? No, it's not horizontal, it's vertical. Those vertical metal ropes that you can see for many aviaries in zoos as well, that are pretty perfect because they are better than mesh fence, because they are more see-through than an actual mesh fence. So I was going for that, and therefore I was happy that we do have those very small and tiny ropes from the new Zookeeper's animal pack. They are perfect for that. You just have to color them black and pretend they would be yeah, metal ropes or steel ropes, I would call it like that. And yeah, they are just perfect for that. You will see it in a minute when I'm finishing putting those metal beams around here from the Twilight DLC. Yeah, and here you can see the rope. Very thin and so perfect for habitats like that. You can also use that if you are using mods. There are so many mods out there for birds right now that are pretty cool. I think the coolest is the hornbill that I can remember. So if you're going for that, this would be such a great fencing for any kind of aviary as well. And as I said, you can see it in many zoos. I can remember seeing it in Amersfoort Zoo. You can see it in lots of newer aviaries in the zoo, because as I told you right now, they are just perfect because they are better to see through than a mesh fence. And the great thing also is you can see many of the birds in aviaries that are flying to the mesh fence and grab the mesh fence with their feet, or with their claws I should say, and that is not possible for them to do with these pieces. So yeah, win-win I would say. And also, not just for birds, you do have the same thing with the binturong, for example. The binturong would not be able to climb those metal ropes. Would just not be possible for them. So therefore it is also a great use of those pieces. Yeah, but of course, in the end, when we're talking about Planet Zoo, you have to make sure when you build something like the habitat that I did in here. I'm using many wood pieces and the rope pieces as fencing. So normally your animals would be able to escape that. So you have to make sure that you select that animal escape is deselected, so that your animals won't run away. So that is very important, first of all, to select that, and second of all, you have to deselect climbing. That would also be yeah, a great choice to use that, so that your animals are not able to climb on pieces they should not climb on. because a lot of the times when you are using the wooden pieces, most of them animals can climb on, and it is yeah, it is not that great. Even though it is not realistic that your animals could climb on those pieces, they will glitch out of the habitat and just run out of it. So therefore, yeah, those rope pieces would be a little bit problematic if you can't deselect the climbing function. What might look a little bit weird is the glass pieces that come out of the wooden structure here for the fencing, just in a small height. I don't know why exactly this is used in Tampa Zoo. They do have that exactly like that, but I think it is also for security. So if any one of your guests will walk behind the guest barriers and get close to the aviary and is trying to stick his, I wanted to say paws, his hands through the fence, it would not be possible with the glass pieces there. So I think it is for security measurements. Could also be that some of the animals are marking their territories by urinating and spreading their urine. I'm thinking of tigers especially, or also some of the bigger mammals are doing that, like rhinos, or yeah, I've seen that by rhinos, tapirs, and animals like that. So if you have a glass barrier, you prevent your guests being, yeah, urinated on. Yeah, that is also something you have to think about when you are building a zoo, I guess. And here you can see I already told you guys that I wanted to have more like an adventurous zoo. I didn't want to limit myself on a special design or whatsoever, so that we can just go for it here in the zoo. So I was thinking of starting with some kind of an Indonesian area here, which is very coincidentally that we are doing something like that, or an Asian zoo with the Southeast Asia Animal Pack right now for my DLC zoo series in German language. But yeah, it is what it is. So there might be some animals that we are going to have double in there, but yeah, never mind. We're not going to build the same habitats. I'm not even going to be able to build the same habitats for those animals. So yeah, shouldn't be that much of a problem. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to start with a Southeast Asian area. And I'm already thinking of what animal could or should be next in here. So if you have any ideas, you can leave your ideas in the comment section, and I will be happy to check them out and maybe take some inspiration for that, or select an animal that you told me that would be perfect for this area. I was thinking for anything small as well, maybe the short-clawed otters, or the red panda. Maybe also a monkey. So what about the siamang or the largibbon? That would also be very cool. I'm trying not to have another animal from the Southeast East Asia Animal Pack right now, because that would be too much, yeah, close to what I'm doing for the DLC series. So that doesn't mean that we are not going to have them, but I'm trying to avoid to have them after one another. So I would be happy if it is not an animal from the Southeast Asia Animal Pack. Yeah, as I said, maybe the largibbon. That would be a great thing, or the siamang. Yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys want to see. Maybe you have another animal in mind that would make total sense. I try not starting out with a big cat already. So yeah, I don't want to have any tigers right now. They would definitely make sense here in this area as well, but not right now. So I'm trying to save them for a little later. Okay, so talking about the binturong habitat. I told you guys in the beginning that it was a little bit of a pain in the ass because some of the things didn't work like I wanted it to. I also checked out things this time before I actually continued building. So what I was doing is that I already bought 2 binturongs. As I was creating the gateway for the animals when they walk out from their indoor habitat into the outdoor habitat. So if it was size-wise big enough. And so I put in some climbing materials and built that part, as you can see right here. That is going to be the gate for the animals. Everything was pretty fine. So I put the animals back into the trading center, was very happy that it is going to work like I was going to build it. And after I put the animals back in, they were not able to use that part here again. So I had to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, I have to say, because the height was perfect, but it was not wide enough, so I had to change that. And unfortunately, the animals were not able to go into their indoor habitat, so they were complaining that the hard shelter for the animals was not enough. So I had to take care of that as well. So they cannot use, unfortunately, the whole indoor area, but it is quite enough so that they do have enough hard shelter, and all the needs of the animals especially are in the green. So they are happy, everything is okay with them. I am not too happy because, as I said, it is not quite working as I wanted it to work, but yeah. It is what it is. In the end, I've learned a thing or two out of it that I definitely have to check out a little bit sooner what the animals actually can use and what they can't use. Another down part to this is that with all the stuff that I created in the indoor area, you're going to see that I'm going to build a ramp for the animals where they can actually go down to the indoor area. So this is the gateway here, where they can actually go down into the indoor habitat. Yeah, therefore, the zookeeper, or the gate to the indoor habitat where I was placing it at first, didn't make any sense or didn't work, because the animals couldn't be put into their habitat or couldn't walk out of the indoor habitat into the outdoor habitat. So yeah, therefore we do have that backstage building that nobody's going to use. So the animals are slightly going to use it, because when they need a hard shelter and want to take a nap, they are actually going there. But yeah, the keepers are not able to enter there. Also, the problem was, and that is something that I had to think about in the beginning. So if you do something like this with this backstage area, our keepers won't be able to go into the outdoor habitat because they can't walk through the gateway of the animals, because it is too small for the keepers. So therefore you have to take care that all the food items and all the food enrichment items would be in the indoor habitat for the animals, because that are the things that your keepers actually have to reach, because they have to interact with it, they have to fill that up. And if you have the food enrichment items or feeding platforms in the main habitat, in the outdoor habitat, and your keepers can't go there, they can't fill it up and your animals will starve to death. So yeah, that was another problem that I didn't think about, and so I had the problem that the gate to the indoor habitat didn't make sense, especially as I was not able to place a feeding platform in there. I mean, there's enough space for that, but for some kind of reason it always told me that it was blocked, and I don't know why. But I imagine, yeah, the habitat was just a little bit too small, especially when I put the climbing pieces in there. So therefore I'm really sorry guys that this is not working as I wanted it to work, but it is what it is, and as I said, I'm very sorry for that, but I promise you guys, usually when I'm doing something like this, in the end it is working. So for the next habitat where we're going to build a backstage area, I promise you guys that it definitely will work, and I will make sure before I put the animals in there that everything is going to work, as well as for the animals, so for the keepers. So creating a little backstage area here, because that is something that I also want to do for all the animal habitats, because when we are going for realism and for details, we definitely have to have backstage areas in here as well and taking care of them. That is also why yeah, today's episode is going to take a little bit longer, because it was so much work to do, building the backstage area, the habitat, the fencing, and also the main entrance gate to the zoo, so it took a little while. And that is also something why I want to talk to you guys, or why I want to tell you guys how important it is that you guys hit the like button for my videos, because that is so much work that goes into these videos. As I told you, I was more than 8 or 10 hours building just for this. Usually my whole weekend goes into creating videos for Planet Zoo, so building and cutting the videos, doing the voiceovers, doing the music and stuff like that, creating the thumbnails, or like I did for this zoo as well, and I'm going to do for this zoo as well, creating custom billboards for the animal science and the education stuff. So yeah, I would very much appreciate it if you guys don't forget to hit the like button. So yeah, since the end of last year it has decreased a little bit, so it makes me a little bit sad, and I hope you guys still enjoy my videos, and I hope it's going to increase by the beginning of this year once again. Yeah, trying to give it a little bit of a used look with those pieces, and here you can see me now building the dysfunctional ramp. Well, not too dysfunctional, because the animals can actually reach it and walk on it, but yeah, it leaves the indoor habitat a little bit too small for the animals, so that they can actually not use the indoor habitat. In real life it would not be any problem for them, because yeah, binturongs are great climbers and they don't need that much space, and when you look at it and think about it realistically, yeah, it wouldn't be such a big problem. But in the end it just looks cool and it looks realistic, and yeah, therefore I'm happy with it, even though it would be cool if the animals would actually use it the way I planned it. So now it is time for the last part of the video. creating the decoration for the indoor habitat. I also wanted to provide the animals with some natural water resources, so therefore we do have a little, I don't want to call it a pool, but we do have a little water supply in here. I'm also creating some kind of a self-made waterfall, where I'm using the waterfall that we got in the aquatic DLC. So not the special effect pieces, just the pre-built waterfall. And here you can use it also, you can turn it a little bit, like I did in here, so that you have something like not just a waterfall, but a flowing, not really river, but some flowing water down the hill right here. Unfortunately, you can't put it horizontally, because that will stop the water. This would be such a cool feature if it would actually still keep running, so therefore you could create great rivers, but yeah, doesn't work that way. But I think it looks pretty cool like it is right now. And once again, trying to make it realistic. So where does the water come from? So we need something where the water actually is flowing out, and that is what I'm building right now. Also using those Indonesian pieces once again. By the way, if you are asking where those Indonesian pieces do come from, they are from the tropical DLC that we got somewhat. Was it last year or was it the year before already? Where we also did get the Red River Hawk, the Fusa, and was it the Lar Gibbon? I think it was the Lar Gibbon. Not quite sure. And another animal that I can't remember right now. Yeah, and for the next part, when I'm building those climbing pieces, I have to thank Thomas Freaks, because he did something like this in our community zoo project, Samudaya, where everyone in my community is able to build a habitat for an animal that the person that built before them says them to build for. And he built a habitat for the clouded leopards, and he was using those African branches that we got in the game, or that we do have in the game. I think they are from the base game, I'm not quite sure, the base game or the African DLC, and they are so perfect for building climbing structures, because they have such a different look to it. You can use some of them combined, as I did in here, and then build some platforms on it. For example, you can go crazy with them and use more of the branches that I already did. And build really beautiful climbing structures. So yeah, they look so much more natural than the actual pieces that we do have. So yeah, I'm very happy that I saw that, and a huge credit to Thomas Freaks for inspiring me to use those pieces in here for the Binturong, which is also his favorite animal, so I think he's going to appreciate it even more. Yeah, and I know what you guys will be saying in a second. Why is he painting the rope bridge in green? So, once again, for every one of you guys that doesn't know that already, I'm colorblind. So I have massive problems seeing if something is green or brown, especially, or sometimes even if it is red or brown. Always depends on the color tones, so yeah, there's that. And here, right at this point that you saw a second before, I noticed that the rope bridge was green and I changed the color. So I was going to the pieces from the Twilight DLC, so the wooden beams, copied the color code and put it in there so that I can actually color the bridge in brown. And I also do think I do it later on for the fencing that we do have outside of the habitat for our guests, which is also green, which I noticed, so I'm going to change that as well. So if you see any weird color combinations, I would appreciate if you guys don't ask why did you choose to paint it green, but you can always let me know if I did something like this. Don't ask me why, because that is always a little bit, that makes me feel bad. Just give me a heads up and tell me you were choosing a green color for the rope bridge, for example. I think you didn't want to do that. Maybe you want to look into that once again. I would very much appreciate this kind of approach. Yeah, so as I was saying, lots of plants in there because I wanted it to be very tropical, very jungly, because the binturong is a tropical animal. Lives in the forests of Indonesia, so therefore I want to have lots of plants in there. But unfortunately, the binturongs, when I put them into the habitat, weren't able to move anywhere. So I had to make so many changes. Those stone stairs that you saw in the beginning that I was building, they were too small for the animals, so I had to make them wider. I had to delete lots of the plants that I put in here because they were too much for the binturongs. They couldn't walk over there. So yeah, many changes I had to make so that the animals in the end were happy, because I don't want to deselect animal welfare this time. I always say that, and then there is that one animal that just kills it and I have to deselect it, but I definitely don't want to do it here. I want all the animals to be happy in Greenpines, and I hope I will be able to manage that. The binturong was really a challenge, but in the end they are happy. So we made it. We are at the end of the video in the real-time part. I hope you guys did enjoy today's episode. I hope you guys did like the habitat for the binturong and everything else that I built today. So if you did like it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also leave a comment. I'm very happy to interact with you guys, you know that. And until next week, have a great time, take care of yourself, can't wait to see you next week. Yours, Bake and Play.
abonneer l'anneau. Ti Yemen e genilla imedata.